Okay, so today I want to show you two different watches. The first one is the Casio Edifice EF527D 7 AVDF. This is the silver chronograph. Excuse me, all silver with the silver dial. And the other watch is the Invicta Pro Diver 8926. It's marked new. I suppose that's because of the movement. It has the old style bezel on this one, the coin edge. So I just thought I'd show them in the boxes to begin with, just to show how they present themselves. And the first one is the Casio comes in a very simple box, presented like this in it with its little display pillow. And the Invicta, when I first opened the box, I saw this, I said, oh my god, water damage. But no, it's actually on purpose. I guess it's another homage to the to Rolex, and I sometimes wonder how they stay out of court with their homage. But it's a nice box. It's a nice presentation, much more qualitative. It looks like they're a little bit more proud of their watch than Casio is. Now, why these two watches? A very simple reason. I've been looking at two luxury watches that I'm interested in getting. And the first one is the Breitling Navitimer World with the white-on-white, the silver dial or off-white dial. And the other one being a Rolex, either the Submariner or eventually an Explorer 2. That depends. But in any event, these are two watches that I would like to get, but don't have the means to do it. So while I'm saving up for them, I had this idea. I thought, why don't I get two watches that are similar in looks and size, and see whether I actually like them. Because in the case of both of these watches, something I generally prefer. I would generally prefer a leather strap on it. But I figured I'd give it a try and see how I liked it, which the bracelet on the Breitling is much better than this one, obviously. And the other thing was the size of the watch, and see if, because this is a 45 millimeter diameter watch, and it's a pretty big watch on your wrist. I have small wrists, so I wanted to check that out. And in the case of the Invicta, it's an automatic already. This one is a quartz. The Edifice is a quartz, and the Invicta is an automatic watch, which is quartz watches are a dime a dozen these days. And the other thing that sold me on it was the fact that it has the display back case, which is nice. Although the movement, I have to say, the movement is not the most interesting movement to show off in a display back case, but it's not bad. I don't know if you can see. See if I can adjust the light on that, because the winder plate actually has a Côte de Genève grind on it, which is nice, picks up light if I can get it over here. I don't know if you can see that on the video. Not too well. Well, trust me. I'd set both watches to the atomic clock a couple days ago. Let's see, I can see on the chronograph it was, we're past 12, 24, about 2.5 days ago. And I just wanted to show you the accuracy of the Invicta. It's about 6 seconds fast after 2.5 days. So that's pretty darn good. I mean, really, seriously, that's pretty darn good for a watch that is, I could buy 100 of these watches for the price of a Rolex Submariner. So one good idea that I had about buying some cheaper watches and try them on for a while is that I'm pretty sure at this point that I would not get the all-white Breitling, because at that price you want to make sure you can tell the time. And I consider this an outdoor watch, in that it has a radial grind silver face on it, and the indices, the hands, are polished, which is very pretty. It looks very nice. But, big but, is that unless you're if you're not in high contrast lighting, you can't read the time. But actually here in this lighting here, which is indoor lighting, you can see it's not terribly readable, but it's actually more readable than it is usually, because this is reflecting off of the black tripod, And if I slid something white there, you see, this is pretty much what you see when you look down, you know, on an average day if you're working in the, you know, normal light. If you step outside in the sunlight, you can actually, you know, read it much better. Both watches have a nice heft to them, and a nice feel to them. The Casio, I think, feels more solid than the Invicta. The bracelet especially is much less clinky, doesn't seem quite as cheap as the Invicta. The clasps are both pressed steel. They're nothing to write home about, but the Casio has a nice matte finish to it, which gives it actually a higher quality feel to it than the Invicta, which is, you know, just a, you know, a thin pressed steel that has play in the buckle here. You actually can't see the date too well because it's at the quarter hour, but the magnifier on the Invicta for the date is about, I'd say, about 1.5 magnification. It's not great, but it does make a difference, because if you can see between the two of these here, you can't really, this is the worst time to be doing this, but on the Casio, the date window is about the same size as the Invicta, and the Casio, if I'm not wearing reading glasses, I can't tell, I can't read the date. Whereas with the Invicta, if I squint a little bit, I can. So I mean, I really like both watches. This is a smaller watch, the Invicta. I really enjoy wearing the bigger watch. It looks good. You know, as I say, I have small wrists. I think it looks great on a small wrist. It feels good. It feels substantial. If you're wearing a dress shirt or a suit, the bigger watch is going to get caught. I prefer to wear the Invicta with the dress shirt. Another thing that I noticed about, I was speaking about the bracelet before, is that the Invicta has polished whatever. The center is polished, the outside is brushed metal. And it doesn't really bother me, but it is pretty, you know, it's pretty shiny, you know, throws off a lot of light. Whereas on the Casio, they're brushed. It's a different brush. It's a rougher brush on the inside than on the outside, so you get a difference between the two treatments of the metal, and so it's a very subtle, makes a very subtle play. The light plays off that in a way that's not bad. I think what I'll probably end up doing with the Invicta is I'll hit the middle with a Scotch-Brite pad to take down some of that shine there. Okay, concerning the Casio, it is a chronograph, and a pretty decent one too. On the face there are 3 subdials. So the bottom one, which is normally the small second hand when it's normally running, that becomes the 1/20th of a second counter. On the top you have minutes, and on the left you have 12-hour subdial. So you can actually time events that are, you know, quite long. To operate it, you know, you just click on the top as usual, and you've got the sweep second hand here, the large second hand turning, and the 20th of a second, which will run till about 30 seconds, and then it will stop showing, but it'll still be counting the time. And then, you know, the other 2 counters go up. On this model, the main dial has a satiny, sunburst, radial grind type of finish to it, and the subdials have or concentric dials, which are also satiny in finish, so it gives it a real tone-on-tone look, which makes it hard to read compared to, say, a black dial with silver concentric subdials. So you see that the 20ths of a second have stopped, but if I stop the button here, it will catch up. Let's see if I can get that in focus. So it you know, it still displays even though it's not turning. And then to reset it, or you can restart it here. It goes back. It'll still turn for 30 seconds. And then to reset it, it's here. It just flies back. And to restart the small second hand, you go here. And sometimes I'll just let the sweep second hand run as the regular second hand, and it's more readable, especially with this on this model here. It's a nice looking watch, very good quality for the price. It is. I spent more on this watch than I did on the Invicta. Both watches have screw-down crowns on them, so they are watertight, and I believe they're both hackable. I know that the Invicta is. Let me see if the yeah, they're both hackable, and watertight, so you can go swimming with either one. I think they're both rated about the same. The Casio is to 100 meters, and I think the Invicta might be more. 200 meters. 200 meters on Invicta in this one. The Edifice being a big watch, you probably wouldn't feel that comfortable swimming with it anyway. But if you, if it gets wet, don't worry about it as long as you got the crown screwed down. The other thing about the Casio that annoys me a little bit is that when they put a coin edge bezel on a watch, I expect it to be functional, so you expect to be able to turn that, but you can't, because the inside dial on the rule is adjusted with this crown over here at 8 o'clock. So when it's on your wrist, there's absolutely no friction, so you can just with the lightest touch spin the dial on that. And if you actually need to calculate anything out, it's accurate. It works. It's very easy to use, even with it on your wrist. Not as easy as actually turning it, but the printing is very small and not terribly readable. So you probably want to have a magnifying glass if you're actually going to need to use that. It's fun to have it. I use it sometimes to calculate dollars to euros or vice versa. On the Invicta, the diver rule on this, when I first got the watch, was not hard to turn. It was impossible to turn. It was as if it was welded shut, and that drove me crazy, because it's not like I was going to go diving. I actually needed to use it, but as I was saying, I like to have, if I have something on a watch that function, I like it to be functional. So I was trying to break this thing loose. I could barely get it to 1 click, 2 clicks, and I'm going to do a whole video apart on that, on how to resolve that problem, because now I can turn that just as easily as it's supposed to be. But when I first got it, impossible to turn it. I mean, really, I considered sending it back just for that. But if you've got a watch if you've got it at 8926 that does not turn, don't send it back. Don't take it apart. It's an easy fix. It's the simplest thing. It'll take you 5 minutes. So overall, I wanted to also talk about the Lume on this. I'm going to just put it under the light here for a second. I don't know if we can see it. Yeah, you can pretty much see it. The Lume on the Invicta is pretty good, decent. It's not Rolex quality, but it'll last for a couple hours. And the Casio, the Lume on the Casio is I didn't even know why they bothered. They would have done better just to paint the hands black to make them more readable, because it's a blue Lume that lasts about 10 minutes, and after 10 minutes, nothing. I mean, you could be in pitch black, you can't even see a damn thing. Okay, so that's pretty much what I wanted to show you on these two watches. I'm pretty happy with both of them. I think I enjoy wearing the bigger watch more, just because because I like the feel of it. I like the feel and the look of the big watch. But the Invicta, I'm very pleasantly surprised at the accuracy of it, and the quality for that price range is really not bad at all. They go overboard on the branding. Everything is branded on this watch, but and the bracelet is not great. It's not bad, but it's not it's not nearly as good as even like the Casio. But overall, it's pretty good. I enjoy wearing this watch also. It's a smaller watch. It's less present, although it is kind of blingy. So I mean, it's not. I can't say it's exactly discreet, but it's a nice looking watch, and it's a pleasure to wear. So two good watches. Now all I have to do is save up some money to get the real ones now, the Breitling or the Rolex. But for a small budget, good watches, very decent watches.